Good afternoon, everybody. This is Silk, not turn for quick shout out to for posting my KMT Turn 1 their video for me. I really wanted to keep my board intact just long enough to do a recap video for Skyfall. So that's what this is. This is my review for Skyfall, which is mostly Japan-centric. I want to focus on how we did it. There's all that. Just folks in the future so they can kind of learn some. Quick shout out to the Allies, though. Bombing here and here is just delightful. I kind of knew this was coming, but I had not planned for the bombing in that got deployed by the Brits. So nice. It would have comfortable. This hasn't gone. Put them. They've got units here and they're. Just and it all. But what I mostly want to talk about and what we did and how we did it, and also why I guess this game kind of went the way it did, which a lot of it was tied to that Italian declaration of war. That's why you saw Global War Enthusiasts really focusing on that, because that was really the key turning point on this. We'll talk a little bit about that too. So for overall, very pleased with the result. Really, we scored both of our victory exceedance objectives, which are kind of a bare minimum for Japan to me. Don't do those two, you've really kind of dropped the ball. And then we were able to get 2 more points. We were able to get both Kita Patai and Asian for Asians. We were not able to get access to resources. Not a huge surprise. Access to resources is really hard to score if given the and both from the Allied invasions, and of course the Russians are going to fight you for Manchuria once they get a chance, which is what you're seeing here. And I'm kind of coming back, fighting back. But he's factory, and this was going to turn into blood. We're either one of us, and we both kind of lose. Nobody basically is what would have developed there. But fortunately, from my perspective, didn't need it. So long as I was able to keep Asian for Asians and the Kita Patai point, I was pretty happy with where Japan was at, scoring 4, given that we had the 2 points from Italy sewn up. So let's get to that in a little bit. How we is a lot of kind of the core principles of what my text game is. It's why it's proof. You, the heavy armored, doesn't have to be early, specifically in the mid to late game when you need to fight the KMT armies and the Soviet armies. That hits on 7s in the mountains is going to really pay off. You don't need a lot of them. Like I think I ended up with quite a few, 8 or 9. But you just need enough that you sprinkle them in with your infantry and your cavalry, your artillery, and the forces, your pre tech forces, and the heavy armor becomes the big core unit that does all the damage, and your other units just become the kind of the chaff that just keeps the armor alive that you end up trading up. And you kind of saw that with the way we dealt with the KMT army, with the way we were able to just push the CCP army, kind of back it out of the way. And we had a couple of minor engagements with them, but they never, ever threatened us to evolve, which is entirely what you want as Japan. Like get the Chinese into a closet, make them stick in that closet, don't let them out of the closet. You did see, of course, the KMT did come out, but I was in position to kind of smash them back, although nearly threw this darn game away. Props for that. Almost one from GD would have been a nice hubris lesson. We really didn't quite coordinate our last turn very well. Terrell turned 17, and nearly lost because of it. But we got away with it because the dice were nice to us, But thematically, I was pretty happy with how everything worked, and this is why I do heavy armor. You guys can kind of see it. You can, if Calcutta had gone a different way, I would have done. You might have seen them down here. They'll fight in the jungle for you if you need them to. They still attack at 6s, defend at 5s for 7. Still cheaper than fighters. So overall, it's a great tech. Number one most important tech for Japan is heavy armor. We choose large ships, which you saw there. The Americans got to it before I did. I think by 1 turn they had theirs down. But because of the circumstances, you saw where I was able to devote 30 IBP a turn, just turn over turn, to build up my stack of large ships. And the Americans, A, because for a little while they didn't quite have the money to match me because they weren't in the war yet. And then B, once they got into the war, they had so many commitments, it was hard for them to match that pace of the 30 per turn. And that's why you saw me get the fleet that I built here. This is 9 heavy ships here, plus the 5 that are over in dispatching the Brits. And I'm going to place 2 more, and a turn later I'm going to place 2 more. So, yes, the Americans would have come over, but they would have had to face 11 heavy battleships. That's 33 damage wounds, of which it's really not even 33, it's 22, because I keep them at 6s, obviously. And then all of my heavy cruisers don't have to die because the battleships take the wounds for them. And I'm pretty confident that we would have won that fight. It would have hurt a lot, obviously. My battleships would have sunk. My carriers would have been sunk. But I think we still come out on top. We just had that many extra wounds. And it's really what those heavy battleships do for you, especially once you have a Kita Patai and you're buying them for $5 a stage. It's 10 pips, but 3 wounds for 15 IPP. And that also counts 2 to 1 for Kita Patai, obviously. And once you have a large enough fleet already, they become the soaking units that lets the rest of your fleet stay alive, which is what you saw in that British fight, where I attacked with, I think, 1 more unit than he had. I think I had 14 and he had 13, although my carrier didn't count. Like, our dice were basically even, but my ability to just soak all those hits off of my heavy battleships, I lose 2 torpedo boat destroyers and kill like 11 units or 12 units, whatever it was, and have just absolute minimal losses, and then I get to bring my fleet back, and then the battleships would have attempted to repair because I would have repaired the shipyard, and then the other ships would have gone and fought the Americans if the Americans still wanted to fight. So that's why that was kind of all set that way, and it's just really, really effective way to go. So it's something I definitely recommend. All right, on to the last little tidbit is going to be what happened with Italy there. The really reason to show it, it's all changed by now. When Italy makes that move into Turkey, everything changed in this game. I had a whole different scheme for how I was going to attack the Soviets and fight the Commonwealth and all of that. And it all got thrown out when the Soviets declared war on the Italians. I simply didn't see it coming. Partially because of what y'all kind of got to see later on as the game went on. And when Italy can just kind of sit there and be a annoyance pest, but still score their 2 points, it's just an incredibly effective tool for the Axis to have access to. I would be very leery as the Soviets to declare war on Italy if Italy is not at war with anyone. It can very much destabilize the board if you're not careful. I say that, and I've done it before. I have declared war on Italy when they weren't at war with anyone else. Comfortable enough that I was going to be able to deal with the board situation because of where I was at with my Soviets, but only one time. The rest of the time, I've not. So it's not a don't ever, but just be aware of the consequences of what you're going to face, because it can really, really put a pincher on what the Allies can do. Because Italy, of course, can constantly just sit there, leave Rome more or less empty until the turn they think they're going to attack, and stay in this ready mode posture, which soaks up some resources from the Allies without any of the reward, because Italy's still getting its 2 points. So it's just rough. yeah, without that Italian point being in the bag, we would have had to have done entirely different strategies. So definitely that was the linchpin of Skyfall there. So I think that's about it. Just kind of wanted to chat with y'all, kind of show you a little bit of what we were doing. I'll see y'all probably tomorrow. I bet we'll have a whole new board set out here for KMT. CCP hit their die roll. They're on fire. They've made both their recruitments, turn 1 and turn 2. So that's going to be a total nightmare for the KMT to deal with. Could have half to 3/4 of China could be communist this game. We'll see what happens. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. So thank you very much, everybody. And if you have any questions, or any comments, just leave them in there, and I'll go ahead and try to respond to what I can. Have a great day.